For coming to this next session this afternoon that we're going to begin, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Dat Bao from Monash University, co-sponsored by the Literature and Language Teaching SIG and also the C Group, the Creativity Group, which is an international association of members, all of which are interested in and love to use creative texts. We're going to be going live for this session, but only the presenter will be going live. But thank you so much for your participation, and I'm going to hand over to Dr. Bao. And this is a 90-minute session. Yes? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Let's welcome Dr. Bao.
Thank you, Tara, for the good introduction. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this session, which is, I'm sure, related to what you have already been doing. The topic itself is not new to you at all. But what I'm trying to share is a number of insights related to what I have been doing. And part of it is founded on research efforts over the year now. I was a bit ambitious when I put up this topic, which I originally called creative use of pictures or visual pedagogy. But I also realized at the same time that visual touch on so many different channels of resources. It may be semiotic, such as advertisement, streetboard, street signs. It may be artifacts such as a cup or a table. It may be photography that you take with your camera. It may be drawing, it may be cartoon. When we talk about, and also that includes animation as well, like video, but within the boundary of today's discussion, I'm not going to be able to deal with all of them all at once, so I will say, I've got research on other aspects, but I'm going to save them all for future presentations so that I will have more opportunities to come back and share this with you. But within today's discussion, I'm just talking about the use of cartoons. Now, the reason why I picked cartoons today is because cartoons are not always used in the classroom. Compare with video, compare with photography and other resources related to pictures. Also, I like to bring up visuals today because it's maybe fun. When you are getting tired, something to cheer you up would be nice. So let me start off with a bit of introduction related to where we came from. I think language education historically had used pictures a long time ago. This snapshot was actually a screenshot from something that exists over 100 years ago. Since the time when people were learning Greek and Latin, they already used picture. But if we trace historically, we realize that the use of picture at that time was mainly to teach words, and not much more than that. Today we realize in every language and non-language classroom, pictures are used to teach a wide range of things, including communication. But at that time, it was just mainly vocabulary. And it dated back further than 19th century, but what we still keep in archives are pictures used since 19th century. Now this is a typical classroom that time when teachers ask students to recite words and they volunteer to say what they know, and that was as lively as it went. Back then, there was again no communication as far as visuals are concerned as foundation for learning. I'm gonna talk a little bit about visual methods. And I would like to share with you some ideas, but I would like to also ask you, why do you use visuals? Can you give me a raise of hand to show who in this room has been using pictures in your teaching quite regularly? I think almost 99%. Thank you very much. Can you shout out to me the main reasons why you employ visuals in your classes? Clarity. They say a picture speaks louder than words. Yeah, for clarity. Any other reasons? Yes, my favorite. Memory. Yes. Picture retain. You remember pictures better than you remember script. So it makes things stay in your memory. I read very much. Any other thoughts? Yes.
Fast, easy, immediate.
Exactly. For quick communication, it's almost like a shortcut. I remember when I was teaching in English for the first time, I was very inexperienced. I was teaching the word heart, and I tried to use gesture to demonstrate what a heart is. So I wrote the word heart on the board and I said, do you know heart? Heart. And the whole class said, oh, pocket. So I had to draw the shape of a heart to get it through. So I agree with my friend here very much. One more. You use picture for communication, for meaning, for interest. Yes. 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 Picture, I agree with you. Picture has its own meaning. Picture is actually language, but you are using a different kind of language to carry on meaning from the target language. I think you've touched on almost everything that I thought about, but let's see if I got anything else to share. Another thing I would like to highlight very much is think about where we get pictures from. Normally, the pictures that you have been using in your classrooms, where did you get them? Maybe from the internet. Mostly these days, we go to the internet. Sometime a while ago, we got most of them from a textbook. But nowadays, we expand our resources and go online. Is anyone in this room who has actually created your own visuals? And how did you do that? Yes. Yes, you again. Yes. A camera, yes. She took picture with her camera. What about you?
I actually use PowerPoint slides.
Yes.
There are some basic shapes that can use.
Yes.
So you can use that to
The template. Yes. You go to the PowerPoint template. You use camera. Anyone draw your own pictures and use drawing to teach? Like my mapping. Yes.
I do very simple stick figures.
Simple stick figure, yes. Some people complain they can't draw, they are not artists. So one easy way to do stick figure. Yeah. You have a thought for me.
Oh yeah, I often draw flashcards. I love to draw.
Flashcard, oh lovely. I think if any of us are lucky, we can draw well, but even if we don't draw well, it can be fun as well. Some of my colleagues try to draw a dog to demonstrate the word dog, but when he showed it, everyone thought it was a dinosaur. And they laughed. So it's actually, even if you fail, it's the opportunity to create enjoyment in the learning process. I think I got everything you said here, almost here, but I can also share with you a few more. I call it teacher-driven visual, because first of all, it's related to what you are looking for. Maybe I will shift this away a little bit. Related to what you're looking for. When you're looking for a picture, actually it's not just the picture that you are looking for. You are looking for ideas for teaching. And to couple with the picture is a lot of pedagogical strategies that you build together with that search. And I think that part is even more important than the picture. How we use a picture is more important than what picture we use. Secondly, when we find pictures by ourselves, we know our students, we know what they like, what they need. We can even predict their reaction upon looking at a certain visual. It's relevant to the content of the lesson you are teaching, relevant to the techniques that you are using. So that's the background of why we are here learning about the use of picture, trying to discuss and discover more ideas. Now, in this discussion, this is the structure. I'm going to share with you about 8 different strategies of how to exploit visual, but in this particular context, we'll talk about cartoons and fun drawings. One is to teach vocabulary, to teach role play, to teach grammar, to develop the ability to think creatively. Number 5 is to write story or tell story, predict what happened, and other things related to creativity and cultural understanding. So I guess those are things I would like to share with you. But let me start off with character, because just now one of our friends here said he draws stick figure. Now, one thing I realized, many teachers in the classroom told me that they wish they were artists and they struggle to draw. They want me to find some way to help them learn to draw. And I thought it's a bit tricky to do that, but finally I found a method which I would like to share with you. But before I do that, let me just give you an example of how I use pictures in drawing. This is my own drawing. I use it to teach relationship. When I show this picture, it's just a warm-up tool to get people into the mood of the lesson. So I ask students, before I announce the topic of today's lesson, my first question is, what seems to be the relationship here between these two people? And students will give me a variety of responses. Maybe you can try with me. What do you think is their relationship? Yes?
Father and son.
Maybe father and son. Who has another thought? Maybe teacher and student. Some of my students said employer and employee. And then my next question is, what do you think is going on here? They said, or maybe what some of you would like to try. Why is the man angry?
The son has done something bad.
Yes, the son has done something bad and father is trying to give him a big lesson. Or students forgetting homework, or employee maybe lost a contract or did something wrong. So I started off with a picture like that and students really pay attention. Next step, creating characters. I took a long time to prepare this, but what I want to share with you is how I teach some of my students to draw. And this is not the best way, but can help them start off. First of all, maybe begin with facial shapes. A facial shape, which can be in any form. Can be round, oblong, rectangle, irregular, pear shape. So they start with shape. Now, at a teacher training workshop, I would do the same thing, but I would ask every teacher, and you can try to start off drawing a man and a woman, or a boy and a girl. Just pick 2 shapes you like, and you can start now if you wish. So next thing I do is to start the eye from the top. Just to have circles, and then a dot in the middle, and then the nose will come right from between 2 eyes. Just a line coming down like this, and then ears sticking out, and a mouth. Maybe some hair as well, yeah. And then the next thing to do, which is very easy, is to copy the facial shape to make the body. I ask my student teachers, if you want your picture to be fun, try to make the body size smaller than the face. And your picture will look fun. So this is the body, and it takes the same shape as the face. And legs and arms will stick out. So those are characters, and it's easy to do this. Many teachers at workshops try, and they actually, most of them did better than me. And then the next thing I want them to do is give their characters a bit more soul, more action, more facial expression, so I then encourage them to allow character to look a bit sideways. So I repeat the process, but this time eyes move to one side. So it looks like characters now are trying to have a conversation. And then facial expression, I encourage my students to change them. Once I've done that, maybe the body also take on some postures, like the character can be walking, can be sitting, and so on and so forth. And now they seem to be a little bit more lively. Now, one thing I do with my students is, once they come up with their own figure of a boy and a girl doing something to each other, they will then pass on that picture to the next person to explain the picture. What do you think is going on? So they can draw speech bubbles, they can add more items to the picture to create context. And they did it very well. I wish I had their work here to show you, but I copied their ideas here. What do you think this person is trying to do? Maybe you can guess. Or it's hard, then I give you another. I didn't draw in the bodies yet, but maybe you can guess what's going on. What do you think is happening? Are they happy together? Maybe not. Maybe they have some sort of conflict. Yeah? So one person punch the other in the face. Maybe I invite you to guess the next one. What do you think this lady is doing? Probably kissing. You probably, my friend Red is speaking from experience, yeah? Kissing. And you can imagine what the bodies are doing here. Okay. And someone is jealous and angry. And he probably is about to start a fight, and passers-by are worried. They don't want to see. And the next thing I do is, there's paint app everywhere now in your students' computer. You can ask them to drop paint into the figure, which they did. Yeah. So I just within a few clicks, you add color to the picture, and they share. They create conversations, even stories. So I did a lot of this at workshop, and teachers bring them to the classroom. But again, most of the pictures created by my student teachers are much more creative than this. This is just very simple, boring way of doing it. Let me share with you a few more cartoon characters that I've made for my classes. There's no rule about proportion. That's a good thing about cartoons. So you can actually, yes, thank you, Tara. You can actually play with sizes. And I realized if I make the body much smaller than the face, the character tend to look very cute. But if I make the body much bigger than the face, the character tend to look a bit more romantic. Happen to be so. So this is the introduction of character. Now I'm moving on to ways to use some of those characters in lessons. One of the first thing I find most useful is to use picture for students to discuss people and events. Now this is something related to everyone's experiences, so it's very easy to use this approach. One thing I do a lot is I use just one picture and I ask students to talk about it. Before I show you the picture, I will highlight a few things that we can all do with that picture. For the same picture, you can do so many different things. You can use one to teach grammar, vocabulary. For the same picture, you can tap into communication skills, even creativity, like essay writing, poetry writing, other aspects that I will try to get you to think with me after I show you the picture. So this is a picture that I took from my diary. I have this habit of writing my diary sometimes in different forms, doodling, maybe a short poem, and sometimes picture. Now this was a part of my hometown. When I was a high school student long time ago, I live upstairs on the third floor near a marketplace. And every morning I walk up, look down into the street. This was what I saw back then. I left when I was 17. I left my hometown, which Saigon in Vietnam, when I was 17. And I've been living through 6 different countries. But this memory stayed with me very much because it was part of my childhood growing up. Life was interesting, diverse, noisy, fun. And I kept this picture just for myself to remember the life back then. But over the years, I realized that when I was looking for picture, I happened to bump into one of these and I thought, oh, this could be good for language teaching. So I brought it up to my classes and I brought it to many of the teacher training workshops that I run to art teachers. Then I collected a lot of good ideas. Now, when you look at this with me, do you think we can use this to teach vocabulary? What kind of vocabulary do you think it's useful for? Could be, yes.
Nouns.
Could be nouns, could be names of objects, items, yes. I agree. Anything else? Actions, yes, right.
Almost any kind.
Almost any type of vocabulary, you name it. Like transport, means of transport, action, verb of actions, nouns indicating objects, prepositions, along, in, at, over, across. Anything else? Description, yeah. Can we use it to teach grammar? What kind of grammar item do you think it may be useful for? Present progressive, yes, describe what is going on at the present moment. But it can be past progressive as well, reflecting on the past events. Other tenses that you can sometimes bring in is simple past, present perfect, continuous as well, depending on the context that you are trying to set for your students. Other things may be about skills. Think about the 4 skills that we always use to teach languages. Can we use it for speaking? Yes, we can. Such as role play. I asked my students to pick randomly any 2 characters and start writing your conversation and even perform it. Like there's a mother hitting her daughter over there, so they start writing the conversation. Like, stop whining. I'll get it for you later. Yeah. This man and the girl, maybe they are on their first date. So it's not the same conversation that the whole class is creating. It's individually picked by everyone and it's diverse. Can we use it to teach writing? What kind of writing? Anyone in this room is passionate about creative writing, like you do poetry, short stories, yeah. You can use it for stories, writing, or making sentences. Other skills are listening. Can we use it for listening? But then we have to write a text. So one thing I did is I wrote a text about this, but I make a few things wrong. So that student will circle what they hear, and they will delete what I got wrong. For example, if I say there are 2 cats running around, they see no cat, so maybe they have to draw the cat if they like. If I say there are a man sleeping on a hammock connected between the trees, and they have to circle or tick the image they see. So I use it sometimes for teaching listening. So we talk about speaking, writing, listening. How about reading? I think we can use it for the same fashion as we do with listening, where there are true and false. Students have to decide. But they can do it right in the picture. They can tick what is true. They can change what is wrong. If the reading text says a dog is eating food, that is not correct, so you have to kind of cross the at the dog to show that you understand the meaning. So those are examples of how you explore a picture for narrative or description or reporting events. Strategy number 2, what I would like to emphasize one more time, is using a picture to role play. Can I invite you to do this with me? It might just take like 5 minutes. Imagine this scenario. Last night someone got into an office building and killed someone or hurt someone. Now the person escaped through the window, but you saw the person. And today you heard from the news that someone was hurting someone in the office building and ran away. They are looking for the suspect. You are going to the police station and report the incident, and you even remember the looks of the suspect, so you can tell the police to actually reconstruct that image to find where he is. Yeah. Now I want you to pair up for me if you can. I know some of you are sitting alone, but if you can find a partner real quickly, that would be great. I want you to feel how this activity works. It may work very well with your students, or it may need to be modified, but I love to see how you do this. So maybe, can I give you 30 seconds to form pairs for me? So just walk to someone else and sit with him or her, and then I will guide you through what to do. And this is a bit of a discussion that we need to do, but this experience is important. So please fall into pair. Now, I want, in each pair, I want one of you to be the witness, to be the person who spotted out the suspect. Yeah. The person who sees the suspect. Can you decide? And the other person will be the policeman. You are the artist at the police station. So your job, I haven't shown you the picture yet, but wait for me a second. So make sure you have the witness who will look at the picture now. Now the other person is the artist. When I show the picture, I want you to close your eyes. So if you agree to be artist, can you close your eyes or turn away from the screen? Okay. Are you ready? Make sure you don't look, because it will spoil the show. Yeah? Okay, only the witness now can look at the picture. And I will show it only 5 seconds. You must remember. Are you ready? So again, artists, close your eyes please right now. This is the suspect, could be the criminal. You cannot take note, you must remember in a real life situation, you have to memorize. And you cannot take picture now, you take picture later for your class. Okay, that's done. Now what I want you to do is, wait. Have a conversation between pairs, yeah? Within your pair, have a conversation. One person describe, the other person will draw the image. Can you do that? I give you 2 minutes.
Black tea. There's something anyway, it's like a chessboard. Describe this kind of there we go. guess it's just like done it as a main activity to the case of
Can I give you 10 more seconds to finish the picture? Okay, everyone, I guess many of you have already finished the picture. Would you like to see the image of the suspect? Yeah? Everyone looking. How much of it did you get right? Yeah. Almost 80. And some of my friends draw very beautiful pictures. Look innocent. I don't think you can accuse people like that. Now, would you like to make any comment on this activity? Because I read in many textbooks, this activity is very similar, you can find. Sometimes you have partner A pairing up with partner B. Partner A has the picture. She or he will then hold the picture to describe. The difference here is you don't hold the picture to look and describe anymore. You have to talk from memory. Why do you think we do this? Any thoughts? Any idea why I didn't give you the picture to describe to the next person?
Because if you're describing someone in real life, you're not going to have a picture.
Exactly. Yes. That's exactly what I wanted to say, because if you describe it off notes or picture, it doesn't reflect real world communication. Think about the context in which you need to talk about someone else's looks. Maybe you have someone you are going to marry, and you tell your friend, say, the person I'm going to marry is very good looking, yeah? Very tall, for example. So you describe mostly from memory. If you have the picture, they will just show the picture, no need to describe anymore. So this is just a bit of an effort to modify in order to bring back real life communication features. Another thing I would like to introduce to you is using small images to teach vocabulary in text, within the text. Can we read this together to see if it works? Yeah. This girl is talking about her boyfriend. She says, my boyfriend always smokes and enjoys drinking with his friends. On Sundays when he doesn't work, he reads for me, for newspapers for me, and then ride a motorcycle. It can be more than one word. To Tom's house, normally they are good friends. But soon after, both of them got drunk, then they fight or argue, and sometimes fist fight as well. And then one thing your students can do is they can push this monologue forward. Can we try and continue a little bit more? Now you understand why I decided to break up with him, dump him, love him, because I'm a gangster, I like bad guys, yeah? Some girls said they are attracted to bad guys. Or some of my children said, kill him. That's too much, yeah? Or to look for another boyfriend. So, if we use this as a lesson scenario, there's a lot of things that can be done about this. Do you have any other suggestions for how to expand? Suppose this is the introduction. This is a story of someone who is not happy with her boyfriend. For example, you can speak from the boy's perspective. Now your student will draw the picture of a boy talking about the girl. Can we improvise this together just for the fun of it? My girlfriend always, what could be a bad habit of a girlfriend? Nag. Like a wine, nag. And enjoys what you shopping. Enjoy shopping very much. Enjoy sliding my credit card. On Sundays when she doesn't work, she makes up a little bit, and then got a taxi, go to Alice's, her friend Alice's house, Normally they are good friends, but soon after both of them maybe jealous of each other's beauty. Yeah? They talk badly of each other. Tell your student this is purely fictional. Any coincidence, it just needs to be forgiven, yeah? For the fun of it. And then you continue the conversation. When I ask my student teachers to explain this lesson, the lesson never ends. It could go on for hours. For example, the couple then go to counselor, yeah? And we can role play, like two people and the counselor, and each person come in at one time. Those who have this experience will know the procedure, yeah? So they talk to each of you separately, and they put you together. Another thing is, each person will then write a letter or an email. Like the girl write a letter to the boy's mother. The boy will then write a letter to the girl's father to complain. Yeah? And you can keep going on and on until there's a lot of diversity coming into this lesson. This is one of my students' favorite. But the whole idea is to use vocabulary in context. That is very, very important. I think I just make a summary of what we just discussed. You can draw bubbles, you can write the word in different contexts, like email, formal letter. In Australia, people have this magazine called the Weekly Women Magazine, and there's Sue, Dear Sue, the column called Dear Sister Sue, and they talk about their problem for Sister Sue to respond to them. So they write a letter to Lonely Heart column in the magazine for advice. You can write short story, poetry, very short story, and other things. So I hope you can try and let me know how it works with your student. Another way to explore visuals is to use visual to teach grammar. You don't show words, but get your student to make sentences. Suppose the first one is, she has been. The tense we could use for these pictures be present, perfect, continuous. I have been doing something for a long time, and the impact still stays at the present moment. So she has been traveling around the world. So she came back tired with a lot of stuff she bought from overseas. Number one, can you say that for me? What do you think this lady has been doing? She's been maybe practicing the piano. Number two, the man has been playing maybe soccer or football. Number three, could be you. This English teacher came out of the classroom and look at how she feels. Yeah? This lady has been teaching English to students. Number four, he has been writing letter and so on. She has been swimming. Not just this 10, it's just a demonstration of one thing you can do, but you can use pictures to talk about anything. Suppose you are teaching preposition, and one thing I did was I take real novel titles and I change the preposition. I use Paint or Photoshop to change some preposition to get them wrong. Then I invited my students to correct them. Can you spot out the incorrect one? Like the first one is right out of Africa, Under the Volcano is a novel, From Russia with Love, correct? Can you say? Yes, Gone with the Wind, not at the wind. Dead, maybe not in Sunday, yeah? Dead on Sunday, dead in the afternoon, darkness at noon, for example. So my students will struggle a little bit, but we learn not just the preposition use, we learn book titles as well. Another strategy I like to share with you is you use different images to invite your students to develop relationship in order to form a story, for example. Suppose you give your student these three images and ask them to tell a story. What story could it be? Any idea? Bicycle, a ball, and a broken window. What could have happened? Yes, my friend.
I was playing football and I kicked the football through my neighbor's window, so I jumped on his bicycle and escaped.
Yes, perfect story. I play football and I kicked the ball through someone else's glass window, broke it, and I hopped on my bicycle and escaped. One of my students said, after I did that, I regret very much, and I don't have money to pay or fix the window, so I gave them my bicycle. And some of my students said, yes, sounds more like an ethical story. Yes. A dog, a rod, or stick, and a leg which seemed to be hurt, injured. What do you think might have just happened? Anyone? Yes?
The dog learned how to fight back.
Yes, yes. He summarized it very well. He's like Ernest Hemingway. Yeah? Ernest Hemingway had a number of very short stories. The dog learns to fight back. That's the story. Beautiful. That's the best I've heard for a long time. Or the story can work the other way around. Maybe the man fight back. So either order would be fine. Hit the dog first, the dog hit him, beat him, or the other way around. Yeah. A cat, a mouse, and a piece of cheese. You can tell a normal story, or you can try to be a bit more creative. Tom and Jerry. Maybe the winner is Jerry. Yeah, the winner. Maybe you never know. Don't look down on science, for example. Yeah. A storybook, a man, and an ambulance. Would you like to try and tell a story real quick?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the guy was walking along the street and he was so engrossed in this fascinating story that he walked out onto the street and got hit by a car.
Exactly.
The ambulance had to be called to take him.
Exactly. Yes. That's a story that we can easily imagine. Yes. The man walking in the street, reading the story, his storybook, and then bumped into traffic and got hurt, so got carried away. One of my students said, the man is the ambulance driver, and sometimes he's bored, so he read storybooks, and then he caused more accident, and he just pick up victims and put in his ambulance. But that is a very immoral story. Yeah. We laugh, but of course in the end we can discuss more. But we allow students to actually say what they like. There's no right or wrong. Another way of teaching using visual is to get students to imagine what's happening next, or what has just happened before. Now, maybe tell me from your imagination what has just happened and what is going to happen after this. A man coming out.
His wife has just thrown him out of the house.
Yes, his wife threw him out because he was naughty. Yeah? So his wife divorced him. So he lost his family and he lost his home. Any other thoughts?
He was just sacked.
He just said, yeah. Kind of, what other scenarios can you come up with? Like family story, can it be job interview? Yeah. You and I, we came from job interview and we know we didn't do very well. We wish we could have done better. One of my students said, this man came home and realized he lost his key, so he can't get it. Yeah, so he kept walking around. Could be proposal, will you marry me? Yeah, and the girl, of course, didn't want to. A few more scenarios for prediction. Yeah. What seems to be going on? Part of the picture is hidden from us. And there were so many different explanations from my students. Would you like to offer one or two? Anyone? Yeah. Yes.
A boy has an affair with a neighbor's daughter.
Oh, that's another good, very brief story, one line story, very Hemingway. A boy is having an affair with his neighbor's daughter, and that affair is distant but effective. Yeah. One of my students said, this man is a football fan, and that day his TV was broken. Very interesting. Yeah. What do you think happens to this man? Is he dead? Is there an explanation? Some kind of a story?
She broke up with him and he fainted.
Yes, she broke up with him and he couldn't take it. Yeah. Yes.
He forgot her birthday.
Oh, he forgot her birthday, and yeah, and you can guess, bang, yeah, in the face. Yes, I like your story. He forgot her birthday. That's the title, the caption of this picture. I can use your knowledge and put it in a magazine. Yeah. Don't forget your girlfriend's birthday. Yeah. One of my students had this story. He said, the man proposed, will you marry me? The girl said no. So he had a heart attack and he dropped dead. And the girl said, just kidding. Too late. Too late. And then what's the moral of the story? You have to really carry on the conversation. You can use picture to make up what's happening further. Where do you think this man is turning to? Is trying to run to? Is he late for somewhere? Where could it be? Can you give me a place? Be late for work? What else? Late for travel, maybe train station? Or could be the airport. Suppose this is the airport. Yeah, he's late for his flight. Do you want him to catch his flight in time? Or do you want him to miss it? If he can catch his plane, it's too normal. Story ends here boring. So let's allow him to play with his destiny a little bit. So the plane is taking off and look at him. He's sad. But something is about to happen. Do you want something to happen to him, the man, or to the plane? We have cruel thoughts sometimes. We have cruel thoughts. Forgive us, not forgive us, yeah. So, boom. Some terrorist acts, yeah. And look at the man now. How do you think he feels?
Vindicated.
Yes, vindicated, yeah. He feels relieved. At first, he was sorry he missed the flight, but now he's happy he missed the flight. Human can be cruel. But this is, unfortunately, not the end of the story yet. Something is about to happen. But already to the plane, now you want the man to receive something. Can you guess?
Part of the plane will follow.
Yes, part of the plane will follow him. Yeah. So his second hit him, and he died on ground. Yeah. Very sad story. But I asked my students to interpret the meaning of the story, what lesson you learned from. And some of them said blessing in disguise. Some of them said don't laugh at other because you soon will be laughing on the other side of your face, and so on and so forth. It was a good discussion and students enjoyed. We push this kind of technique further, and instead of this time guessing what happened, I asked my students to draw in what happened. So first of all, we try to imagine what's the reason for this man to be running like this. What do you think has happened that is hidden from us? Any thought? In your life, when did you last run? Your wife follows you and you want to divorce now?
I'm being chased by a big dog.
Sorry, a dog.
A big dog.
A big dog, a big hungry dog chasing him. You may be right. So this is something you can draw into the picture. And you can guess my mind. Very good, thank
Get
you.
bonus points.
Is anything that could run after this man, if not a dog? Could be a woman, yes. A werewolf. 10 minutes. Yeah. Or policeman. Yeah. So police run after him and his dog, or dog run after him and the police. That would be different option. We have 2 minutes, so pardon me going a bit faster, but I think I'm reaching the few last slides now. For the same technique, you are asking the student to draw into the hidden segment of the picture. What do you think these two people are doing? Their expressions seem to be a bit neutral. So play with your imagination. You can't tell whether they're happy or sad, angry or whatever, but we can add action into the picture. Maybe singing. What else can they be doing? Sharing, eating a very long baguette, or brushing teeth and show off cleanliness. Yeah. Look at my teeth. Or they are fighting. These are ideas replicating from my students' discussion. They are fighting, so they are very angry. Now the expression becomes negative, but in a second I'm going to make them negative. Yeah. Oh, sorry, the opposite. I'm really sorry. Going back. No, doesn't go back. Anyway, just now negative, now positive. And then negative again. Or hurting each other. Wow. Or very happy. Yeah. Getting married. And then fighting. So from the same image, your student can be as creative as they like. Do it again, yeah. It can be really fun. And I redrew these pictures based on my student discussion. But one fun thing when I conducted this activity in the classroom is students walk around and share what they got and they laugh so much. They even try in dialogue or develop their dialogue into a full-fledged story. Teaching intercultural awareness. Which one is accepted in Japan? People being sweet, maybe not. Yeah. In Singapore, I see a lot of this. Number 3, people express their love loudly. In India, number 2, but in Australia, number 2 is not convenient. Yeah. If number 2 happens, then people will frown on you. So I use this as a springboard for discussion. Or when talk about gift giving, when you receive a gift in Japan, do you open it straight away in front of the giver? Maybe nowadays, but in the old time, maybe not. So this really vary around the world, very, very much different. Or when you are ill, what is a good gift to give? In some cultures, giving flowers is a no-no. Means the person has passed away. So we have to be very careful. This is an intercultural discussion. Just a few questions to stimulate thinking, but I wouldn't bother asking you anymore. I think you've answered many of them. Just a summary of what we can do. These are things, resources we got from public sources, but it would be good to, I think I put it for my students, so ignore that. Now, this is a conclusion here. I think up to this point, you probably agree with me that it's always interesting to find our own visuals or even create them. So that helps us think and experiment with pedagogy. It liberates yourself from relying on textbook and make you an interesting teacher. I will just keep this. I think these questions are not overlap with I share with you the last story I created for my students. Now this time, just 2 minutes, yeah. This time I show pictures and I talk to students. They will have to talk to me. So the moment I move on to the next slide, students will have to say something. But to begin with, I will say, once upon a time, there was a beautiful lady living on a small island, and she's lonely. She's looking for a husband, but no one can match her because she's really a star. She's beautiful, refined, interesting. So then my students start telling the story. But now you can tell yourself the story quietly in your head. Yeah? So they propose. confused. 5 minutes, thank you. The story happened in the old days. So there was no internet or anything. She could only dream, and the most she could only do was, can you guess? Let her in the bottle, and then she threw it down to the sea. Remember those boys who died for her? They forgot that. And then the bottle floated around day and night. When I get students to tell this story, they struggle a little bit because they are not sure how to decide the destiny of this letter. So some said it never got anywhere, she will die old. Yeah. But some said, yeah, it get to Prince Charming. And I allowed that to happen. Yeah, Prince Charming out the bottle, opened the letter, and wow, follow the call of his heart, said goodbye to his crew, and travel day and night. And then there's a lot of conversation going on. So I wouldn't tell the story too fast, I would pause a lot for discussion. And there were two sides. One group said, the man keep going forever and never found, and he died at sea. The other group said, no, he will find his true love. So finally he got somewhere, he got to the island, that's her island, and he went to the door and knocked on the door. And then I asked my students, what do you want to see? Some of them said, yeah, the beautiful young lady, but others are more cruel. And I show you the cruel version. Excuse me, can I see this lady? The moment he said that, she burst into tears. And he was so scared. What took you so long? And the punchline is, I have been waiting for you for 40 years. And then I asked my students the moral of the story. So they had all kinds of opinion. One said, just marry the one who loves you. And we talk about the philosophy of love. Someone said, don't marry the one you can live with. Marry one you cannot live without. Something like that. So it's a big discussion about love and destiny. But with that, I would like to close the discussion here. Thank you very much for your involvement. I'm not sure we have time for questions or anything, but we might have a couple of minutes. Tara is not here to close the discussion, so we'll close it together. If you have one or two thoughts or questions, I'd love to hear. Anyone? Yes, my friend.
I've got a technical question.
Yes, of course.
Do you recommend?
Yes, please.
Just wondering, when you create those pictures yourselves, do you recommend doing it on paper and pen and scanning it, or do you do it like using an iPad or some kind of software?
Yes, thank you. That's a very good question. Many years ago, I did it in paper. Some of those pictures I just showed you, I did it when I was a student, like over a decade ago. And then I still kept them. And recently, I went through my archive and I kept scanning them, and I got a few hundred. If you like, I can send to you, but I can send to the conference organizer. I have a lot to share. Another thing is I use the bamboo. It's called bamboo. It's a Japanese bamboo iPad for drawing. I forgot what it's called. It's called bamboo. It's just a label, but there's no bamboo in it. But the pen is sensor. Look like a piece of bamboo, but you can draw. I forgot what it's called, and I use that.
It's a Wacom?
Yes, Wacom. The Wacom
drawing
drawing pad. The Wacom drawing pad. And the model is called bamboo. So you can draw it as much as you draw bamboo. It's erasable, fixable, like editable. You can use it and save it. The moment you draw, you can scan and save thousands. You can draw really fast with the Wacom. So I use that. I showed you a picture I did with Wacom, and it's so powerful. Because not just black and white, you can dump color on the picture. And this is a picture I did by doodling. Yeah. I did it on the Wacom. And it's easy, it's not that difficult. The picture look cool, but actually not that hard to draw. Yeah. So I recommend the workbook. It costs about $1,000 or even less. Yeah. I think it's about time to stop. We'll keep this conversation going. You got my email address, maybe from the conference organizer. Again, thank you everyone for being here, sharing contributions.